Welcome to CEOs Solve the Darndest Things, a video and podcast series of interviews with CEOs, hosted by the partners of the Resolve firm.
Hi, and welcome to CEOs Solve the Darndest Things. I'm Terry Dockery, and our guest today is Tim Whittemore, who is a founder and partner at Conexus CPA firm. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you today. Tell us a little bit about your company and then your role over there. What do you do day to day?
So Conexus CPA Group is a full-fledged CPA accounting firm. We have a tax practice, we have auditing and attestation services, and we have consulting services. We also have business valuation services, so we can do just about every aspect of handle any aspect of a business needs from an accounting perspective.
Right, and your role at Conexus?
My role is I'm a tax partner and a consulting partner, so I focus on two areas in our practice, both the tax side from an individual and a business perspective, as well as the consulting side from an IT software development perspective.
So so you're particularly interested in IT, as I recall, that you, in terms of helping your firm out with those IT needs, you tend to get involved with that. Is that correct?
I am. I started out life as a computer programmer, and
really?
Spent 2 years programming in the early 80s. I met a Arthur Anderson consultant, and he said, "You need to go back and get an accounting degree." So that's how I ended up in the accounting industry.
Well, so you got dual interests.
I probably should have stayed in the computer industry, and I might be retired now. But
yeah.
I still do a good bit of programming for my clients and developing tools for my clients. So it works out pretty well.
Well, shoot, if you'd known computer stuff was going to take off like it did, you might have stayed there.
Absolutely.
Well, so what led you to this path? I mean, you went accounting originally. What were your interests, schooling? What led you in that direction?
Yeah, so like I said, the introduction to the idea from the Arthur Anderson consultant was the first thing, and how much I could make was the second thing. He said, "You can make this if you go back and get an accounting degree." So that was the main reason I did it. But it's worked out very well. It's given me a in-depth knowledge of just about every aspect of a client's business. We get looked at as the quarterback of the client's team, if you will. They call us for everything, including legal questions and insurance questions and human resources questions, of which I absolutely know nothing about. But we're able to get them to the right people and work with their team to, provide the best solutions to the client for whatever their needs are.
Good deal. Well, now I understand you and I were talking earlier that you felt like you needed a new hobby, and I understand there might be a Porsche in your future.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting tired of Alta tennis, so I thought, well, I need a new hobby, and I just started thinking maybe I don't need a new hobby, I just need a new car. So I'm looking to buy a Porsche convertible, similar to you, by the way, and looking forward to driving in the North Georgia mountains with it. So,
I was about to say we got some good driving mountains for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Porsche. Yeah. Well, in terms of your business challenge or conundrum that we were going to talk about today, you said that you'd like to talk about some of the clients' conundrums and the challenges they bring to you and things you've done in the past to help them out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about those things. We've seen just about everything you can possibly imagine since 1983, since I started in this business. And we see things that are recurring themes that from a family perspective and family business perspective, that people don't like to address, but they end up being huge issues.
So you guys work with a lot of family businesses?
We do work with a lot of family businesses, and the owners of those businesses are typically very good salespeople. They're not very good detail people, and they don't have they tend to think about today and not necessarily about long term, what their objectives are and their goals are. So we try to work with them and their team to help them define those goals. One of which is succession planning. I think most business owners, or at least the entrepreneurs that develop the businesses, don't realize that their family members might not like to go into the business. And
They just assume
So
that
they just
will.
assume that they will. They'll take over the business, and we've seen this time and time again. They have no interest in taking over the business. So then the executive is, later on in their life, and they don't have an exit strategy. So we've worked with clients over the years to look at alternatives such as ESOPs as providing an exit strategy. Finding strategic buyers to find an exit strategy, or even looking within, for a leveraged buyout by management, within their own management team. So we work with them to find the best tax solution to them from an exit strategy, as well as providing, the business an opportunity to be successful after it moves on to the next stage. So,
All right. Is there another client conundrum that comes up fairly regularly?
Well, there's tons of them in terms of, we pick up clients all the time where they haven't been given good tax advice.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, how does somebody not get good tax advice? You would think that people to be going to a qualified CPA. You have a master's in taxation, right?
I do have a master's in taxation from Georgia State. Well, I think, people look at accountants and they think, first of all, tax people. And that's not necessarily the case. We have a lot of accountants that are auditors. They know nothing about taxes. In fact, we do some tax returns for, high-level auditors for Big Four firms. So that's, a misconception that every accountant understands tax. So what you have is, especially in the small business world, is that these accountants are wearing multiple hats, and they don't know necessarily some of the complex areas of the tax code. So I'll give you a perfect example. We picked up a client, it's been almost 25 years ago, and the first thing I looked at with the client was its business structure and why it was in the form of business that it was, which is a C corporation. And my first question is, it didn't make sense, because with C corporations you have something known as a double level tax. So you pay taxes at the corporate level on the earnings, but then when you pay the money out to the owners of the company, you pay a second level tax.
Wow.
So that can be depending on the tax rates at the time, can be huge. It could be over 50%, sometimes close to 60% you throw in state income taxes. So in this particular case, this company was very successful, putting $2 to $3 million to the bottom line every year, paying a ton of taxes. And I was able to go in there, and we were able to make an S corporation election on that particular client, and save them over $400,000 a year.
Wow.
And I was just looking at it the other day. Cumulative, it's over $12 million. Since we did this.
That's amazing.
And it was a situation that they didn't know the tax code. They had a complex structure, a lot of different types of investors. So they had trusts, and they didn't think the trust could qualify as owners of an S corporation. There's some limitations. And we basically went in and reformed the trust, created new trust, sold the stock from the old trust to the new trust that qualified, and was able to save them, like I said, over $400,000 a year.
Well, people are always our CEOs are looking to add profit, and it's just right there. You're cutting your overhead by paying less taxes.
Absolutely.
Which is an absolutely positive business move, of course. Well, that's very interesting. Well, Tim, tell us a little bit about the conundrums or the challenges that you're seeing in your industry. What are the trends you see coming down the pike that are likely to shape the accounting world going forward?
Well, as you know, one of our largest conundrums is attracting and retaining talent. And thanks to your group, we've implemented a number of rules that I think are going to change our policies in a way that will help us do that. It's been an eye-opening experience dealing with millennials and learning and understanding millennials. So we're changing our culture in that regard.
What do you see the millennials? I mean, what's different? What's changed that makes this a little more challenging for you guys?
Well, the motivations, the tools to motivate are completely different from when I started. It was just kind of a given that we'd work long hours and you would put in time learning on your own. That doesn't exist anymore with the millennials. It's, my personal time is much more important to them. So we're having to adapt. We're looking at providing opportunities to work from home from certain people because of the traffic problems we have here in Atlanta. So we're trying to adapt to become more responsive to their needs, and hopefully will provide a better environment for them and a better result for our clients.
Right. Any other trends you see that are affecting when you guys get together to do your strategic planning? What are the things you're paying attention to that might affect your business model?
Well, there's some significant trends, and it could impact our business in a negative way over the future if we're not prepared for it. And that usually is involved technology. There's a lot of new AI being used in audits today, oddly
AI
enough.
being artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence in audits, which seems odd, but that's the case. So if we're not catching up with this and utilizing these tools, then we're going to be behind, the 8 ball on these audits, and we're not going to be able to compete, from a price perspective. The other thing that's going to be impactful is blockchain. Blockchain's new technology, basically, that you're probably most familiar with. Bitcoin is built on the blockchain. It's revolutionizing the accounting industry and a lot of other industries.
For us non-technical people, that's digital currency, basically, where you don't have to transfer dollars or gold or whatever.
That's exactly right. But the technology itself that it's built on, that Bitcoin's built on, is blockchain. So there's tremendous uses available for that. For example, it's a distributed ledger. So if we have a transaction between you and I, that transaction is recorded out in the cloud, if you will, and it's recorded on 100 different computers, for example. So it's secure. Nobody can mess with that transaction. So it's gives you 100% assurance that it's valid transaction. So
security is better for that.
Security is better for that.
Because that's a big deal these days,
us
right?
auditing the financial statements, we now would have assurance that nobody messed with or with the transaction to change it to something other than what it was. So that technology is important, and if we don't stay on top of it, we're going to be behind the 8 ball with respect to the other CPA firms out there.
Sure. Well, any other trends, major trends that are on your mind as you guys get together and talk about the future of the business?
Well, certainly, tax law changes, daily.
Well, it changes all the time, doesn't it?
And staying current and staying knowledgeable about the tax law is a huge issue, and involves a lot of commitment from our staff and from us, in terms of getting, continuing professional education. That's something that's going to always change. I think somebody said the only thing certain in life is death and taxes, but it changes constantly.
Well, I guess you guys have to, you as you bring in this talent, attracting and retaining the right folks, that you have to help them in terms of education to keep up with the code and so forth.
Absolutely, and that's part of what we're doing to retain these people as well, as developing education programs, mentorships within our existing staff. So each person that comes in has an immediate mentor that they can go to and ask questions, so they don't feel, like they're out on, an island by themselves. They don't feel comfortable coming to a partner, for example. So now they have a mentor right above them, and maybe a second level mentor. So that will help guide them through the educational process to make sure that they're learning what they need to learn.
Good deal. Well, as we're talking about these trends that you see coming down the pike, how do they affect your clients? And then what are you guys doing to make sure that your clients get the best customer service as business in the future just keep rolling out?
Well, it's a combination, obviously, of technology and tax planning, if you will. We're trying to structure our businesses, especially ones that are new businesses, in a manner that makes them the most tax efficient possible. We're trying to educate our clients to come to us first before they make big life decisions. We find ourselves often trying to correct problems after the fact. They've sold a big piece of real estate, for example, and then they turn around and buy another real estate. They just cost themselves, hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially, when we could have done something as simple as a Section 1031 like kind exchange and paid zero taxes. So it's an education process with our clients, and staying in touch, regularly. We don't want to be the CPA that you see once a year. We want to be the CPA that you see frequently, so that we're, at the forefront of their mind before they make major life decisions that could have negative impacts.
Well, it reminds me of the old saying, it doesn't matter how much money you make, it matters how much money you keep.
Absolutely.
And so
Yes.
from that perspective.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about business intelligence, and I don't know that I fully understand what business intelligence is as you talk about it, and why it's important in your business and how you're helping your clients with it.
Well, as I'd mentioned, I think in terms of bringing value to the clients, we have to do things that are different from most CPA firms. And one of the things we're doing now is building dashboards for clients that provide them real-time intelligence into their businesses. Historically, we're a backwards thinking organization, right? We're preparing financial statements looking backwards into time. Well, we're developing tools now that helps them look forward into time and look real time into what's going on in their businesses. So they're able to take these dashboards, and we can reach into any of their databases and pull out information in real time and give it to them on their cell phones, on their iPads, on their computers, and it gives them the tools they need to make business decisions, on the spot.
Well, so when you say a dashboard, what would a typical dashboard look like if I'm a business owner and I'm looking at my dashboard?
It would have metrics about collections of your receivables, for example. It would have metrics about billing and KPIs, key performance indicators, about the status of the business or the health of the business. That would be updating currently, with data coming from the various database sources. So, and including from the web, by the way. So we can scrape information from multiple sources and pull it together and give it to you in a graphical format with, bar charts and pie charts and.
How many of these indicators would you want on a dashboard typically?
Well, the indicators themselves, you would not want too many. You would get overwhelming. But the thing is, with the dashboards we build, they're interactive. So it's not just a picture of a graph. It's an interactive graph. So I can drill into a section, maybe a product line to see more information about that product line. So it's a much more robust type solution than simply a bunch of reports.
And is this real-time data that folks are looking at?
Real-time data, absolutely,
Man.
up to the minute if it needs to be.
Wow, that's great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, have you guys given any? I hear bandied about in the business press about value-based pricing, or CPAs tend to price on an hourly model, and sometimes we wonder whether there's a better way. Given, like you said, we saved a guy $12 million and we're billing him hourly. There must be something wrong with that. Or are you getting? Is that a fair way to compensate people who make that kind of contribution? Have you guys given any thought to that?
Well, we've given a lot of thought to it. Now, the question is, how do you make it from the model we're in now to the new model with existing clients and not, cause a problem perhaps with them, right? I think most of our clients realize the value we bring to them, and if they were to be honest about it, they don't want to pay any more money, but they would probably have paid more if we had been willing to bill them for it, So.
Right.
And
that would be fair in terms of what you're contributing to the business.
Exactly. I'm approaching 27 years in this business, right? And as a result, I've accumulated a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things. And if I were to give you that knowledge, right off the bat, I might be able to explain something to you in 5 minutes that saves you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, is that exactly, worth, 5 minutes worth of my time, or is that worth something significantly more than that? So it's a difficult topic, and we're still grappling with it. We're trying to focus on maybe new clients and bringing them in and putting them in that model. The thing it does give them is a little bit more certainty. We can say, this is what our fee is going to be.
Right.
So they
can control their costs
right,
better.
Exactly. So it's a negotiation up front. And then of course, you would modify it if what your expectations about the cleanliness of their records and that kind of thing were not up to par or whatever. But I think that's where the industry's going, and it's where it needs to go.
Well, and if business is about creating win-win relationships, then a relationship like that, negotiated properly, would be better for both parties.
I think so.
Right.
I think so. Yeah. I think clients like certainty, and they like to know. And quite honestly, it can vary significantly. In terms of a fee for a particular client, depending on what they give us and the quality of the records that they give us. So, once again, we're trying to help them develop systems that gives us good quality records.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, I appreciate you coming on the show and all the insights you've offered us today. So thanks, and we'll keep up with all your future successes.
All right. Thanks, Terry.
Good to see you.
All right. Good seeing you.